In this section, I want to talk a little bit about exception and exception handling. The first question you should ask yourself is, what is an exception? So an exception is something unexpected that happens during the execution of your program, and that caused the program to create a state of error, right? So while the program might be working fine, sometimes there's just unexpected things that happen. For instance, a program might expect some input as a string, but then it got a number, right? So that's going to cause the flow, the normal flow of the execution of the program to be thrown off. And in that case, the program is going to throw an error, or it's just going to produce an error. And this error is called an exception. So that's exactly what an exception is. Again, just so you're clear, exception occurs when something unexpected happened to your program. Like, for instance, you try to divide by 0. That's a very popular example. So that can't happen. So in a programming language, if you try to divide by 0, that's going to cause an exception because that just can't happen, right? So that's something unexpected that happens, and it interrupts the normal execution of the program. And when that happened, then the program just produced an error, and that's called an exception. Now, the whole point with exception handling is to just be able to gracefully handle those exceptions, right? So we don't want the program to just be, tripped off whenever an exception occurs, because, in the end, that can produce an unwanted behavior, right? Because an error was thrown, and then, the whole state of the actual program or application is thrown off, and then now the program is misbehaving. So we don't want that to happen. So the whole point with handling those exceptions is to be able to gracefully make up for those errors, and then continue the flow of the program, so that we don't disrupt the actual flow of the program, so that we don't end up in a very bad state or anything like that, and then see unwanted behavior. So that's the whole point of handling those errors. We can't really avoid exceptions from occurring. That's pretty much impossible, because you never know what's going to happen. Things are going to fail, and when you're expecting some input, they give you a different input. So you can't really avoid exceptions, but that's exactly why it's crucial that you handle those exceptions, because that they're going to happen. So a typical way to handle exceptions in Java is to just use a try-catch block, which is what I have here on the screen. As you can see, we have a simple, very simple method that's just going to return a user if you give it the username. So as you can see here, there's a good chance that something might happen when the program is trying to actually get the user. So let's say, for instance, instead of passing a normal username, you just pass a number, or you pass an object, or you pass some random characters or something like that. So that can cause the program to throw an error. So you usually wouldn't do that when you have like an application like a RESTful API application. And the reason for this is because anytime there's an exception, you want to be able to send some response to the user, right? Because they need to know exactly what happened when they try to communicate with your application. So if you don't handle those exceptions, then whoever is using your application, they're gonna see all kinds of red text with all the stack trace and all that stuff, and you really don't want this to happen for so many reasons, because that can expose a lot of information about your application, and some malicious users might just want to take that information and then exploit your application. So you really don't want that to happen, and that's why you have to handle every exception, or as many as possible. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing in this section. So I'm going to show you a very different way to actually handle exceptions when it comes to RESTful APIs and things like that, because it's a little bit different. While you have a simple program, you might want to do exactly what's on the screen, because you can just, maybe have all of the stack trace being fed into some file, and then you would later check those files every so often or something like that. So I'm going to show you exactly one of the best practices when it comes to handling exceptions when it comes to an API application.